We have a limited amount of time today, so we're just going to kind of do the 30,000-foot view and really just try to give you just a taste of what happened. I want you to know that God worked in a big, big way during this week, and it was awesome. It really was. God is still continuing to work in the people in Mexico. We're hearing from them. They're connecting with us on social media, even though we don't really understand what they're saying about us. So we would like to think it's all good things, right? But we more significantly, probably to us, not necessarily significant to the kingdom of God, but more significant to us, is seeing the changes that's happened in the hearts of our students and within our group. And that's very exciting. We just want to thank you for all of your support, because we know that that most, if not all of you, have been praying for this trip for a long time. You've been praying for individual members of our team, and without that prayer support, we couldn't have done what we did down there. But God has all the power, but I think sometimes that He holds back just to wait to see if we'll ask Him. And I know that because of your faithfulness in prayer, that way more happened than would have if we hadn't asked for God to be a part of that. And not only prayer, but a lot of you guys really stepped up and you contributed, you sacrificed to make it possible financially for our group to go. It was a big ticket item for this trip, and we really appreciate all that you guys did to make that happen. So we're really excited about it. I only have one question for our students today, and that is, where did you see God working this week? So I'm going to give everybody a chance to talk before I come back up. Oh, I didn't look to see where everyone was. Okay. Jamie, you're up, buddy.
I'm up.
All right.
Can we stand up there?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not a student, but I look like one, right? And actually, everybody looks older than me, but I guess that's a good thing, right? I don't know. So, my God moment on this missions trip was, I've been on a missions trip before. I went to India, and we kind of had people around us that were with us all the time. Hey, do this, don't do this, and they could speak the language. Well, in Mexico, a lot of people speak a little bit of English, but they don't speak enough to really communicate very well. So when we first got there, they assigned us cabins or dormitories. And I got the older boys, and everybody was saying how difficult their life had been. And they came in, and they looked pretty rough, got to be honest with you. I was a little scared of them, actually. They just looked a little scary to me, so they didn't look quite like our older boys. But I trusted God that everything was going to be okay, and we went in there, and it was really hard to talk to them because they didn't. A couple of them spoke pretty good English, but most of them didn't speak English. One of them didn't speak English at all, and he happened to be the one that talked the most, so I didn't know what he was saying. So that was a little bit nerve-wracking. I'm like, was he talking about me? What is it? So that was really, really tough for me, and I know for a lot of the other people that went on the trip. But after about a day, it just changed. They all started calling me by my name. I really couldn't pronounce their names, so I really tried, but I think I got it wrong most of the time. But you could just feel the difference, and they really wanted us there. They really cared about us. They honestly, it felt like they loved us at the end, and it was just amazing seeing God at work. And that was my God moment. But I also want to thank you guys very much for your help. Without you, it wouldn't be possible, and of course, without God, nothing would be possible. So, thank you.
So I'm a fourth generation? Yeah? I'm a fourth generation missionary. So my great-grandparents, my grandma, and my mom also went into the mission field. So I felt just a little bit of pressure there to, go out to Mexico and help these students. But I was really excited when we first landed in Mexico, minus me spilling soda everywhere, but anyways. But it was just really exciting. My God moment was this one student, his name was Adrian, and Katie helped make him. The project was it was a wood, but they had nails, and they made just like a different anything they wanted to, but he made a path, and Katie helped him make it. And Sean asked who had nice handwriting, and my handwriting's pretty nice. So I got to write a verse in Spanish, and it's John 14:6, and it says, I am the way and the truth and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me. So I found that really exciting because that verse is like, now it's sticking with me, like I've memorized it. So it just really changed me, and I was really excited that I got to do that, and he was really excited when he got it. So then I went home and I wrote the verse down in a cute little piece of paper, so now I carry it with me everywhere I go. That was my God moment.
Hola, Iglesia. My God moment in Mexico was definitely just seeing the love that another culture can give strangers. I think it's cool because we see a lot of evil in the world, and we think, oh, everyone's just naturally mean and bad people. But that's not how it is. You know, the world makes people mean and nasty, but God gives love. And I just thought it was so cool because when we got there, first we went to the church and we separated into host homes. And my mother and I were together with another mother and daughter. And that alone was a cool experience. But what was even cooler was like we left feeling like we met family members. It was so cool, and we want to go back and spend time with that family because of how well we connected with them and the love that they showed us, and it was just an awesome experience, just that part alone. And then we went to the camp, and I didn't know what to expect. I don't think any of us did, but to start off, when they got there, we did icebreakers, and there's obviously a huge language barrier, but through that language barrier, just playing games and having fun, I like instantly connected with all the kids. And leaving the camp, like I genuinely felt loved by strangers, and I just thought that was such a cool thing that really only God could show me. So thank you guys for giving me that experience.
Good morning. My God moment was the language barrier, and that might sound difficult, like for some people going to a different country and there's two different languages, but at the start of the week it was difficult, and I went to my host home, and before that I was terrified, like I'm gonna go to this home where these people don't speak my same language, and I'm not even gonna know how to ask for water, a basic survival need in a different country. And but their sons spoke very good English, and most of the kids there, they learn in English too. So I was blessed to have that, and I know a little bit of Spanish, but not much. But I got to teach football there, and teaching something in a different language is pretty hard. But there was translators, and that was really cool. And watching like two different languages in a different country worship through the same song, like it's a really cool experience to see that, like two different languages communicating to God in the same way by worshiping Him is really cool. That was my God moment.
My God moment was when we were all worshiping on the Wednesday, and everybody was singing in English and for 2 verses, then Spanish in 2 verses, and I just saw like everybody worshiping the same God and the same, like in different languages though.
My God moment was bonding with the kids. Even though we had a language barrier there, we were able to talk to them and maybe not speak to each other, but use hand signals and other things to be able to talk to each other and teach them more about God. And seeing them grow was probably the best moment that I've ever had. Just watching them and being able to be there and not just see it from outside, just be there and be able to experience what they go through and just see how God is in their life and how much it means to them.
My God moment was probably the kids that were in my dorm, because they, like at first it was pretty uncomfortable, but then they started like talking to me, and then they gave me a Mexican name, and they called me Pepito. And then by like the third day or something, one kid came up to me and he said, "You are father?" So I was like, okay. But it was really cool because they really looked up to me, and I thought that was really special and made me, I don't know, see that God is working in that way.
I didn't really have anything specific, but going into Mexico, I thought it would be really hard because of the language barrier, because I didn't think we would make that many connections. But getting there, a lot of people spoke pretty fluent English as well as Spanish. So it was like a lot of people were more connected than I thought previously. And especially during worship, like they did a couple verses in English and a couple in Spanish, and like everyone was singing along, even if it wasn't your language. And it really just tied us all together, and it was awesome.
My God moment would probably have to be getting to teach the kids about the sport that I love, which is basketball. Just because even though they don't speak the same language, they understood what I was saying and were willing to learn and cooperate, I guess. And just, it really humbled me because, I don't know, it just really hit home when I saw how eager they were to learn the sport, I guess. Thank you.
It's kind of hard to pick one God moment when God is just working through everything that you're there for. But so my God moment was definitely worship. I didn't do sports. I'm not a sports person. And I was like, okay, God, I'm going to go teach these kids sports. I'm not going to be any help, but okay. And so the first day that we get there, we're at church, and then Monday morning, the students aren't there yet. And Sean comes up and asks me, he's like, "Oh, you play the guitar, right?" It's like, "Yeah." And he says, "Will you lead worship this week?" I was like, "Oh, okay." I guess so. I don't know any Spanish, so I'm not sure how much help I'm going to be. And so I practiced a lot. One day I practiced for 6 hours, 2 songs. And so I wasn't with the students very often, and my cabin girls didn't speak English, so I didn't get to connect with, like, emotionally with students very well because I wasn't around them. But when worship happened, it was the most amazing feeling that I have ever felt in my life. Like, I was singing with this guy, Okir, and we did This Is Amazing Grace. And so we did every other verse in English and Spanish, and I would just step back when he was singing in Spanish and just be able to hear some of the people who, some of the Mexicans would sing in English, and some of them would sing in Spanish, and just hear both languages at the same time. And so that was amazing to just be able to, like, see that take place. And so they asked me to pick a theme song, and so the only song for some reason I could think of was Chosen Generations, because the camp was about, their theme verse was 1 Timothy 4:12, and which is to be an example. And so it, like, fit perfectly. And so I started singing this song, and nobody really knew that I was going to lead worship, and I just started singing, and they didn't know the words, and we didn't really have slides for the words, and so it was in English. And by the end of the week, I was just walking around the camp, and students who didn't speak any English had that song penetrated in their heart, and were just like, it had became their anthem, and they were singing it, and I would get asked all the time to sing it. And at the end of the week on Friday, when their parents came, I'd been sick. I think it was Thursday night or Wednesday, and Rachel had made motions that you saw for the song, and I hadn't seen it yet. And so these kids who didn't know worship and what worship was, like the first time I got up, they didn't stand for worship. I was like, oh, this is weird. And by the end of the week, they got up and were like doing these motions to the song that had now became like part of them. And I cried. Like, I couldn't do anything but cry to just watch them become these children who didn't know really what worship was to like really living it out. And so that was my God moment.
So I have lots of God moments, but I'll just share a few. Probably the biggest God moment was watching your kids. They're just fantastic. Through the adversity, I'm sure a lot of you saw, they got sick. We had some complications, but they're just real troopers. Seeing them, you've heard about the host homes, seeing them when we introduced their host homes and their eyes were this big and going, where are you sending me? You know, and then when they came back the next day to the church and they're arm in arm and, you know, doing their hand signs and dancing with each other and bonding with the host homes, and just, they became family very quickly. Watching them teach sports in different languages, watching Katie lead worship, really seeing that they're understanding what missions is all about, and seeing that we do this because we want other people to one day worship side by side with us in heaven. And so that's what we got to watch. We got to watch your kids learn what heaven will be like one day when we worship side by side with people from every tribe, tongue, and nation. So that was my God moment.
Yeah, there were a lot of God moments, I think, more than we probably realize and we've processed yet. But for me, I would go with Lori. I know I look like I'm 17, but I was actually part of the leadership on this thing, though nobody believes it. But seeing my little brothers and sisters, because that's how I truly feel, just get plunged into the unknown and really wrestle with that, and then really have to lean on God. And each other and the other Mexican students was amazing. But one that sticks out is my host home mother, my Mexican mother. His name was Olivia, and she gave a speech. We had a dinner with all the host families at the end, and she's just talking about whether or not we see each other on earth again or in heaven. I look forward to the day I get to see you again. And just that family that only comes from being in the family of God is overwhelming. So that's probably my God moment.
Good morning. First of all, I'd like to give God all the glory and the honor that we were able to go on this trip, and that I got to experience it with Marissa and all of these amazing students. And I want to thank all of you for supporting us to do that. I had a lot of moments, and as Brittany was saying, just processing it and hearing them makes me think of other things that I was like, gosh, yeah, that was really amazing. And but the one thing that sticks out to me is anytime something happened, one of the kids got sick, or there was just some issue or something that came up, the first thing they would do is stop and pray. And they would ask Sean to just come and pray with us. And I just thought that it made me think, like, gosh, what do we do? At least I know I worry. I start to stress out. I get a little nervous like I am right now. But it made me think that that's the first thing we should do, is go to God in prayer and trust in Him. And that's what I think, or I know, that He was trying to teach me, and that is to trust in Him and put Him first and always go to Him in prayer. Thank you.
I'm going to put you on the spot for a second.
Oh, great.
Here. Okay, so I'm going to share my God moment in a moment. But first, I want to say something in English. We are so thankful that you guys participated in this with us. And then I would like for Ada to translate in Spanish, the best she can, but you won't know the difference.
Somos muy agradecidos que ustedes pudieron participar con nosotros y ayudarnos a ir en esta misión.
Beautiful, right? So the language barrier is probably one of the most difficult parts of going to another country where they don't speak your language. That's a huge obstacle. And my God moment is the fact that these people were so excited that we were there. The campers were excited. The staff, the Mexican staffers that were there coming in as volunteers, they were excited to have us there. They brought us in as part of the family, and like Ada shared, they prayed with us and just, they would be like, oh, this is really important. We're worried about this. We want to make sure you guys are okay. And honestly, they kind of treated us like first priority. Their campers came first, but we came a close second. And they really pulled us in and loved us and cared for us. And one of the ways that they demonstrated this was, you saw how long it took for us to say that sentence together, right? Everything we did all week long was in English and in Spanish. Yeah. So one of two things happens. Either we did half the things that we planned to do because everything took twice as long, or everything took twice as long to do, and we went over time on everything because it just takes a long time to say. And they were just so gracious about that, and just constantly translating for us and constantly doing things in both languages, and it was really pretty amazing to see how much they appreciated us being there. It was inspiring. It was humbling. But I just wanted to let you know, this was spring break week, April 8th through the 15th. We traveled to a place called Cuernavaca, and it's a little south of Mexico City. So if you know anything about the geography of Mexico, it's kind of right there in the middle, and it's just south of that, and so very central to Mexico. And one thing that we didn't really, I think a lot of us were surprised at how mountainous Mexico is. Maybe you think of Mexico like you see in the cowboy movies where it's just everything's flat, desert, whatever. But this was on top of a mountain, and not a little mountain, okay? Denver is the mile-high city, right? Well, this was like the 1.5 high city. So, it's up there. But at the same time, close to the equator. So just like we could reach out and touch the sun. So it was pretty awesome. Anyway, just some different things about that. Mission Sports Camps. This is All right, we'll try that again. Mission Sports Camps. Oh, that was something that they did the whole week, and we weren't really even sure why we were doing that, but they tried to explain it in Spanish, and I think it made sense to them, but it really didn't make sense to us. So anyway, what they do, right now they don't have property. They don't have a place to call their home, so they rent space. So if you've seen pictures and videos on Facebook and you're like, are they at a resort? We actually were at a resort. Mexico does not look like this in the picture. Well, I'm pointing back there, but it does not look like this in most of it. This was literally a vacation spot where people from all around the area came to visit, but it's one of the few places where they can rent space that has all of the sports facilities they need, and enough housing to put all the campers and everything. So in case you're wondering why that yard looks better than yours, it does. They have like a whole team of people keeping everything very green and making it really nice. So it actually was pretty sweet. And so we didn't. It wasn't like a cush thing, because we did sleep in dorms with 25 other people in there, and it was pretty awesome. And so I just wanted to let you know that it was a little bit more challenging than it looks in the picture, but we very much enjoyed being a part of that ministry and allowing them to expand. What we did, we were a part of the first time they've been able to do this during spring break. So their schools run very differently than ours, differently from ours. They have breaks throughout the year. They have year-round school. So their summer is only 4 weeks long. So in the summertime, they can only do 2 to 3 weeks, and that's it. That's all the time they really have for. So to be able to expand and do some of these school breaks is part of their goal, to try and get more kids involved. So anyway, just so you know, that's kind of how this ministry works. Again, we are so appreciative that you guys were able to participate with us. We know that you couldn't all go. All right, and some of you, maybe through this experience, you're challenged and you think, you know what, I think God is calling me to do something in mission work. Maybe He's calling you to do something right here in Lehigh, because there's plenty of mission work to do here in Lehigh. There's plenty of people that you can communicate with and have a language barrier too. And I personally have been challenged to come back and to learn Spanish, because we have so many Spanish speakers here, and we can start to build bridges and connect with people right here in our own community, and to allow Christ to enter their lives through opportunities like that. But maybe God's calling you to do something a little scarier and step out and go on a trip like this. You know, I hope He is. Maybe you're physically not able to do something like that, or you're not at that place in your life. God hasn't quite pushed you to that point yet. But getting involved by donating money to those who are able to go is a huge help. You have no idea how much difference that makes. And honestly, like Ada pointed out, prayer is so important, and I think we underestimate the power of it. And that's one thing that really stood out to me. These people depend on God for the smallest things. I was stung by a scorpion on the arm. As soon as I walked in, I was putting my luggage on my bed, and there was one hiding in the sheets. And it stung me on the arm, and it was no big deal. It's like a bee sting, it's really no big deal unless you're allergic to them. And so the nurse there was kind of watching over me. He kept coming back and checking, you okay? Just making sure my throat wasn't closed up. And it was fine. It was weird feeling, kind of strange tingling, and it was weird, but it didn't hurt that bad. And I was fine, but they thought it was really important, and they prayed over me, for something that I think I just would take for granted, like, oh, God doesn't have time to do that. Yeah, He does. Sure He does. And our prayers make that much of a difference. So I want to close with this. I just want to say that we as a church family made a difference in Mexico, and we as a church family are going to continue to make a difference in Lehigh Acres. We love you.